Hang on. For the entertainment of your reactions while you play the same. My girlfriend's argument was that I should stop watching Let's Plays if I don't like reaction content and play it because that's consuming the art. I don't know how to answer. The reason I don't like reaction content is because it takes away the risk of content creation and instead gives all the rewards of it. If somebody wants to sit down and write a video and put their thoughts to paper and curate the script and edit the script and update the script and then voice over the script and then edit the video and put the video out onto YouTube, they're taking a huge amount of time. They're taking a huge amount of risk, whether it's time risk, financial risk, reputational risk. They are the ones taking the risk to create that work and make it exist. Reaction is then simply watching that person's work and giving your opinions on what you do or don't think about it. However, from an artistic point of view, if you upload that reaction to YouTube, YouTube then has two copies of a video. It has the copy of the original video, and it has the copy of the reaction. Now, the reaction is going to be longer, and it's going to contain the majority of the original video, which means if YouTube has to then give one of its many coveted suggested video spots to one of those two versions of the video, it's going to give it to the reaction video because it is longer, it will appeal to more people, it has another YouTuber's name attached to it, so all of the ad revenue and all the money is going to go to that reaction video. However, the person that made the reaction was not the person that took the risk of making the video in the first place. They didn't script it, they didn't write it, they didn't record it, they didn't edit it, they didn't upload it, they didn't put a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month of their life into creating one thing. They put exactly as long as it took to watch the video into the creation of that reaction and then uploaded it wholesale, which means that you are getting a huge reward for very limited risk. The reason I dislike reaction content, despite the fact that I've benefited from it myself, is that it disincentivizes people creating original artwork and instead incentivizes people to simply consume and curate artwork that's been created by others and then re-upload it for personal gain without taking the risk of the original creation. That's why I think reaction content is damaging. In the time it takes me to make one worst MMO ever video, I could have uploaded 50 reactions to other videos and made 50 times as much money. However, I would have taken absolutely none of the risk that the people that created those original videos did. It's about what kind of art you want to exist as well. Creating videos, putting effort, time, knowledge, risk, money into creating something, in theory means that that person can then benefit from that creation. But what if there was a way to benefit from other people's creations at no cost to yourself, and if your reaction fails, you lose nothing as well? Now, of course, it's not entirely negative. The people who are being reacted to often gain a large amount of exposure from it. But that is a byproduct. That is not the focus. The byproduct is the person who is being reacted to gains more views. But that's not what the original reactor set out to do. The original reactor set out to add content to their own kind of repertoire of content, and in doing so, make sure that they stay relevant without needing to create something from the ground up. In a way, it could be described as parasitic. It starts off as symbiotic, and then it becomes parasitic. Because imagine if my job was to wake up, watch 5 other people's videos, and then upload those reactions to YouTube. I would be able to create in 5 days. I'd be able to create in 1 day what it took each person 2 weeks to a month to make. And then I find 5 more people, watch those videos and up those. I flood YouTube with an absolute excess of videos. And even if I were to make half or even a third as much as those videos originally made, because I'm putting them out at 50 times the rate, that's the downside. Now, the other thing with that is it does remove and reduce revenue from the original creator. That has unfortunately just been proven. I don't mind reaction videos when the person reacting is an expert in the thing and is giving their input that would not exist without that. But when it's simply, hey, I want to put a video out on my channel and I don't want to bother writing something or scripting something or editing something, so I'm simply going to watch what somebody else has done, give my opinion and my input, and then move on and do that to somebody else, so my YouTube channel gets, or my Twitch channel or whatever it is, gets hundreds of millions of views based on the work other people have done, that's when it becomes no longer about individual input, but about almost an industrial level of consumption and regurgitation? What about disallowing putting the video itself on screen, just your reaction? People wouldn't watch it then. People don't watch that. The kind of people that want to watch reaction videos don't necessarily care about the original video. They care about the reactor's input on that video. Every time someone has said, well, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Why can't we do the other? There is one solution and one solution that would work to reaction content, and that is simply allowing somebody to upload a reaction to a video wholesale, but making sure that all of the ad revenue from that reaction goes to the original creator. I'd be fine with that. Like, if someone wants to make a 20-minute video and someone else wants to do a 2-hour reaction to it, cool. Just have the ad revenue from that 2-hour reaction go to the original creator. Or have a 90-10 split in favor of the original creator. Anything which incentivizes actual creation of original videos. Then no one would do reaction content. Why? Because they're doing it purely for the money? Or because they don't think that they would have a reason or an input to add? If no one would do reaction content if they don't get paid for it, then you're saying that the reason they're doing is because they make money from it. Which I completely understand that. But you want to incentivize people making original content. And then you want to incentivize people, if they do want to react to it, to give specific expert input and advice. You want people to be encouraged to make original content. The people that are watching the reaction videos want to be told by the person that they like what they think about the video. That's fine. But have a profit split. That's what it needs to be. A profit split would allow that to work. A profit split would be beneficial to the person being reacted to. And one of the ways that you can get lots of views on YouTube is to get your videos promoted into the promotion category, into the For You category, the suggested category. And one of the ways that YouTube does that is by seeing how consistent are you, how many people watch your videos, and how often do you upload. And there is no way that a single creator could ever put out the amount of content, the consistency of content, the length of content that a reactor can put out. Because a reactor does not need to worry about scripting. They don't need to worry about editing. They don't need to worry about uploading. They don't need to worry about anything that changes it or any kind of outside stuff. They just watch. They pick and choose the best content from the internet, then re-upload their opinion on it, which means the internet now has two versions of that best content. The version with the reaction and the version without the reaction. And the version with the reaction is often longer. And because YouTube wants to prioritize longer videos because of more ad revenue, it will then give a higher weighting to the reaction than to the original. Imagine if you spent a year of your life making a film. You hired the actors, you scouted the locations, you paid for the costumes, you filmed everything, you wrote the script, you paid for the editing, you did all of that, you put a huge amount of energy and effort and money and risk into it, and then you released the film. And it made an amount of money. And then someone else, a film critic, sat down, watched the film, recorded their reaction to it, and then uploaded that wholesale. The entire film with their reaction. And that got way more views than your original film did. They didn't spend years making the film. They spent exactly as long as it takes to watch the film, making that video, uploading it, and making 10 times more than you did. Eventually you're going to say, why the hell am I doing this? When I could make way more money doing that instead. And uploading the whole film is illegal. Yeah, I'm describing it specifically as an example for that. It's more like a hyperbole example. That's why I dislike reaction content. It disincentivizes the creation of original artwork, at the consumption of the original artwork and the regurgitation of it with an added opinion in order to make way more money than the artwork ever did. In terms of pure views, sure. Meat Soup, the amount of money that we're talking about for the terms of pure views is exactly what it should be about when we're discussing the business side. Because let's say that you have 30 people, and each of those people, consider this for the numbers wise. Let's say you take 30 people. Each of those people spend a whole month making the best video they can. So at the end of the month, you'll have 30 videos. And each of those people, the videos maybe one person, which means that person gets paid for that video. Then you have a reactor sit down and watch all 30 as quick as they can. Maybe they watch one a day, and they re-upload one reaction video a day. In the time it would take one person to make one video, the reactor has now made 30. It is an industrial scale content creation that you cannot do. And that's why I think one of the only ways that we could effectively change reaction content from what it is to allow a profit share or profit split between the original creation. Josh talks about a revenue split that is some of the reasons why, yeah, like, would the content that gets attention if not for bigger reactor, hang on, like, would the content get any attention if not for the bigger said reactor? Serene, even if it wouldn't, the reactor is still taking something they have not put any time or effort or energy into making and using it as a way to generate content for themselves. So even if they're saying, hey, I'm giving you advertising, it's not that that is the focus. It's almost like that's happening anyway, and that is not enough payment for it. Exposure is priceless in my opinion. No, if you're a rock climber, you die of exposure. Exposure to the right people who are able to pay you is completely fine. That's part of the business. But what you're again doing is you're taking a byproduct of benefit and you're framing it as if it's a reward. A byproduct of a big person reacting to this video is that the smaller video will, benefit from exposure. That is the byproduct, that is not the focus. I've also tend to find it that anyone that actually exists within the artistic world, anyone that exists as an actor, as a musician, as a painter, as a decorator, as an artist, they will understand that being paid in exposure is not as good as being paid in actual money. And it's often the people that don't work within the artistic industries or don't work within the creative industries that seem to think that paying by exposure is fine. The people who won't work artistically love content that listen, see the same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Google reviews can help if you hire an electrician and they do a great job and you leave a good Google review, you can't turn around and say, well, that's fine, that's payment enough. No, you should be able to do that and also pay them. Which is why I've said many times, and people seem to forget this, that I will acknowledge the benefits that I have seen through reaction content. I will acknowledge that it's been good for me, and I still don't think it's a good system. I have benefited from a system that is exploitative, and I do not think if that system wants to continue, that not sharing that benefit with other people. Because ultimately what you then do is the people that make the original content kind of start to get burnt out, the people that are reacting to their content are doing better and making more money than them. And when you turn around and go, yeah, but it's not for the money, if you're the one taking the risk to create the content, you would like the reward from taking the risk. If you see someone getting more reward from your risk than you start to ask, why am I the one taking the risk if I am not the one benefiting from the reward here? It's a risk-reward proposition, and ultimately you cannot deny that the risk the original creator is taking is high and the reward they are gaining is potentially lower. And everyone that just says, oh, it should be fine, don't worry about it, are often not the people that are taking the risk. Again, I don't want to say this is all absolutely the worst thing ever. It's also about finding out, right, what works with this, what doesn't work with this. What can I benefit from? How does this work? People have asked me to react to their videos before because I know that me reacting to their videos would help them. But there are layers to it as well. Unfortunately, when the reaction just becomes an industrial kind of thing, that's the problem. Aren't you just reacting to WoW right now? Toasters, is that a genuine question? Because a lot of people say that, but they put it in bad faith. So what I'm doing with World of Warcraft right now, I would say, is I'm using this as background while I'm talking to you guys. This is the visual thing to watch that people are interested in while I'm trying to kind of connect and talk to you guys about this. The risk that was taken in World of Warcraft is the game was created. The reward is people will then pay money to play the game. That's the risk-reward proposition within that business specifically. I'm not just reacting to it and taking all of the stuff that World of Warcraft has done and expecting to benefit from it. I don't think people are subscribing to this channel simply because they can see me playing World of Warcraft. This is here in the background for some of you guys to look at while I'm chatting to you. But there is an argument to be made there. In that case, we have to say, at what level is the risk-reward allowed to become business-based, allowed to become industrial? If you want it to be a gotcha take, that's fine. If it's a genuine question, then we have to say, what risk has Warcraft taken to be here, and what reward is it getting from me playing this? I'm not making more money from Warcraft than Warcraft is. Now, have I benefited from that? Yes, I've said that before, I'll say it again. Of course I've benefited from it, but I think that I've benefited from it because I was making decent quality stuff. People could say Twitch made you successful, so you owe Twitch. Yeah, there's definitely an argument to be made there, to be fair. But to loop back to your argument about video games and content creators have kind of had this understanding that it is mutually beneficial for content creators to make content and video games to be seen. And sometimes you do get things where video game creators, producers, developers do try and sue or take down videos, like what happened to Stephanie Sterling years ago, where they went against Homicide Media or Homicide something, or there was something, and they took them to court, and Sterling won. And what has basically been discovered is that if YouTubers and content creators want to say bad things about your game, just let them do it. Because if you try and take that video down, you end up with the Streisand effect, and it gets way worse. So there's that kind of uneasy tension. Like anyone, any MMORPG that I've made could message me and be like, hey, you've used footage from our game, take it down. And I would do that. If they message me, I'm like, you're legally in the right, I will do that. But most of them be like, I get that he said some shit things, but you know what, it's brought some more players in, so it's mutually beneficial. It's kind of worked together. Oh, thank God for Steph Sterling. Sterling makes some excellent work. Absolutely phenomenally good content creator. And a good wrestler. But the answer of, am I just reacting to World of Warcraft, is no. World of Warcraft is playing and I'm engaging with it, while at the same time I'm talking to you about another stuff. This is the visual background. Now, if World of Warcraft want to claim the video and take it down, they're actually well within their rights to do that. I don't think they will, because they much prefer having this more friendly, symbiotic relationship. But what we've also got is you have to ask who's taken the risk, who's getting the reward. And the reason that reaction content ends up sucking is because the risk is often not being taken by a massive, big, multi-million or multi-billion company that can afford to lose it. The risk is normally being taken by an independent content creator who has put time, effort, potentially money into the creation of something that they believe has artistic value, which they are then not seeing the full return from, because somebody else who has not put the risk into it is able to come in and take the reward for themselves. That's the issue that we've got. Okay, so answer this. Why don't you create the same content as them, since the bank doesn't care about art? Because the bank doesn't care about art, but I do. And you know what? I'll give you an honest answer, Revolt. I sometimes do wish I could. I sometimes do genuinely wish that I could say, right, you know what, new plan, I'm just going to react to stuff. I'm just going to be a full-time reactor. That's going to be my whole thing right now. I'm going to sit here on Twitch, watch other people's videos. We're going to upload those to a YouTube channel. That's going to be my thing. I think that the audience that I've cultivated now would hate me. And I think that there would be, at least at the start, quite a strong rebellion. But ultimately, I think it would make more money for me to just do that. However, do I think that would be me taking up the mantle of being the parasocial, the parasitic one at that point? The extreme irony would effectively be me sitting as Arthas deciding to take up the mantle of the Helm of Dominance of the Lich King at that point. And I'm thinking, you know what? I don't want to do that. But part of me sometimes does wish I could. Part of me does think, wow, I really wish that I could do that, because you know what? I think that securing a future, a financially stable future for myself, for my family, for my mum, for my dad, for my remaining grandparents, is probably slightly more beneficial and important than the approval of people on the internet that I will never meet. At what point do I say, you know what, maybe creating generational wealth within 2 to 3 years and then never having to worry about anyone that I know or love struggling ever again is more important than making sure people online think that I'm doing the right thing? That's the problem. And at what point do you have to say to yourself, right, this is what I'm doing now? You'd be fucking people over, though. Absolutely, I'd be fucking people over. And that's what I struggle with mentally. I mean, then you hit the 40 to 55% tax bracket. You don't if you structure it correctly. No one pays that. And would I be right to do that? Personally, I do sometimes wake up and think, wow, I should just do this. Not gonna lie, I'd watch your React content. Yeah, you would. That's the problem. That's the problem. You've not been following what you've been saying to Serene, you won't understand. I told Serene that when someone's perspective on the thing itself by saying he wants Josh to react to content, he's proved that what Josh has to say about something is worth more than the thing itself. Yeah, absolutely. Because people, when they watch React content, some of them care about the original content, some of them just care about the reactor. It's like watching the director's commentary on a film that you haven't yet seen, but the director is just a guy that you like. and you end up watching the director's commentary on something to almost be talked through the process of the film instead of engaging and exploring the film yourself. You're not even talking to the director of the original film. You're just getting some famous guy, some friend, to be like, hey, tell me what you think of this film and I will give you more money than the people that made the film. That's the shift in mindset that you have when you make creating artwork your job. Because the amount of people that say, oh, you should just do it for the love of it. And I have to explain, look, I can love it and want to make a living off it at the same time. You're not going to tell your plumber that they should be plumbing for the love of it. You're not going to tell someone that wants to write books professionally that they should be writing for the love of it. You can love something and want to make a living. In fact, if anything, you would ideally want someone who loves it. Because if they're making a living off it and they're loving it, then they're going to be doing the best that they possibly can. You know what, myth, you love teaching. If you don't get paid for it, you're out. Absolutely. If someone is good at something and they've got the skill to do it, then great. Pay them for it. The problem is that the platform allows it. The problem is twofold. First of all, the platform allows it, and second, the audience want it. So at what point, as a creator, I mean, the first rule of mass media, James Bond, Tomorrow Never Dies, James says to Trevelyan before he throws him in, you forgot the first rule of mass media. Give the people what they want. If the people want that, give it to them. The problem is that you have to understand the people that you are hurting are the smaller people that are creating that artwork. Great film, by the way. Tomorrow Never Dies, fantastic. Fantastic film. Now, you guys are also the hardcore because you're here listening to what I have to say and you value and you want to talk about it. But at the same time, we also have to understand the vast majority of people do not care. As long as they get whatever they want to get. Pierce Brosnan is an underrated Bond. He is my favourite Bond, without a doubt. You think I could play a decent James Bond? Oh, thank you. That was what got me into acting in the first place. I really wanted to play James Bond one day. I know that I never will because of how the acting industry works in the UK and how it works. Works globally, how people get chosen years ahead of time, and unfortunately, I just didn't know the right people when I was growing up. But that's what got me into acting in the first place. I really wanted to play James Bond. Will I in the future? Who knows? I know the answer is no. But will I be in another different film? Potentially. What'll happen is that rant that I just went through will get shoved onto JoshStrifeHayes, and then it will be a load of people in the comments complaining that reactions aren't bad, everything is fine, I should stop complaining, I got exposure from doing all that stuff, I should just like that. It will be a load of people telling me that I'm wrong. And then it will be a load of people that are... If you guys want to see what reaction content actually does, go and watch a series by the YouTuber Dark Viper AU. Dark Viper made an incredible series, I actually helped him with it, on reaction content. Dark Viper was probably the pinnacle of explaining reaction content. It is brilliant. And yeah, Inju, invite people to read the YouTube comments. See what it's like. It sucks. Content creating, the process of actually taking an idea from not existing to existing, is not as rewarded online as content curating. Finding stuff that already exists and bringing it to the masses. Creating is risky. Creating brings the potential of failure and the potential of the time, the money, and the emotional investment that you put into crafting any piece of artwork could potentially fail. But curating, the idea that you simply seek out what already exists, decide whether it is good or not, and then use your platform to expose that thing that you have found to a larger audience, that removes the risk of the creation process and increases the amount of content that you are able to, in the time you've got, physically put out. So content creators ultimately have to decide whether they want to continue creating or whether they want to start curating, because curating will always put out a ton more content than creating can. And curating will also allow you to reach a greater audience because you can then simply put out videos on more subjects because you're taking videos from experts in those subjects and saying, hey, you should watch this. Bro, seeing shorts with some random person describing what's happening drives you up a wall. Yeah, I think what I really dislike is when you see a short and all someone has done to make it better is stuck themselves in the corner over it, just looking at it. One guy that irritates me, I don't know the guy personally, I'm sure he's a lovely person, but I don't know him, is there is a content reactor who wears like OSHA-style safety gear. He wears like a hard hat and he wears a yellow high-vis vest, and then he just edits himself over clips of people being dangerous on work sites. But all he'll do is he'll be like, have your clipboard, he'll be like, he'll look to one side, and then they'll play the clip of someone being, you know, dangerous on a work site, and then he'll shake his head and look to another side, and then they'll play another clip. And I'm like, you've done nothing. You've not found these clips, you've not specifically filmed these clips, you've not edited these clips, you've just reacted to it in a way that gives you a level of moral superiority over the people that are in the clips. And so people are going to watch those clips and think, oh my god, I agree with this guy because everyone else is being such an idiot, I'm smart. And Xavier says, I watched that guy, it's funny. Cool. Cool, I'm glad that is the content that appeals to you. That makes me sad every day that I'm bothering scripting or editing anything. But one thing that we also need to remember is the vast amount of people do not care. As long as you show them a funny video with a silly thing, they don't actually think that deeply about it. And you know what? Why should they? Why should they? It's literally just, hey, here is a funny video that's happening. I'm new here, what am I supposed to care about? Whatever the hell you want. Whatever the hell you want, I can't tell you what you can or can't care about. I can just tell you that ultimately, creating is not as lucrative as curating, because creating takes a risk, curating takes risks that have already been taken and then redeems the rewards for themselves. I really liked your MMO healer vid. Have you considered more of them? I considered more of them and then thought that it wouldn't be a long-term viable thing to keep going. I did that for fun though. I mean, the algorithm will reward people for consistency, familiar novelty. That's what we need. Seeing a well-made funny video, then seeing 20 other people make the same video frame by frame, but just with them in it. Yes, and the great thing is, once people see that well-made funny video and they copy it, they are reducing to effectively zero the risk on themselves because they already know it's something that works. I don't mind watching experts on certain topics or entertainers talk about topics they know quite a bit about. That's always fun. I think to me it's about the intention of the artwork. But creating is risky. Curating is lucrative. Are quarter zips the greatest invention in fashion? No, I think that would be the cape. Why is it so hard to make YouTube, for YouTube to split the reaction statistics gained from views to the original creator? Because you don't know where they did or didn't come from. Is it because they would have to do something? It would be twofold. One, they would have to do something. Two, YouTube benefit from reaction content existing, at least in the short term. And three, if you watch someone's reaction to a video, you may not necessarily click the link from their original video. You might in the future think, oh, I saw this person being reacted to. I'll simply go and search that person up. Do I have any low effort or low effort content I enjoy? Guilty pleasure-esque content. Soul Crystal, the words guilty pleasure, I've discussed this before. It's really weird because it makes it sound like you are, wrong for enjoying it or you don't want somebody to find out. It's... Xavier, I had a feeling you might have done, Xavier. So, I mean, not particularly. I'm kind of okay with the stuff that I enjoy. But as far as low-effort content goes, no, I tend to turn low-effort content off quite quickly because it just doesn't hit the same centers that the higher-effort content does. But again, I'm not telling you that you can't like these things. They are popular for a reason. People want them. If I'm wanting to start a YouTube channel, what would be the content I would recommend a beginner start with as a gamer? The content that you actually like. The audience can tell. If you make a video about stuff you don't care about, the audience will be able to know straight away you are just trying to make it for the views. Make content that you actually feel that you have something to say on. Because if you've not got something to say on it, why the hell are you doing it? Do you think you have a bit of a bias because you're a content creator and know the effort it takes doesn't take? Of course, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. It will be the same bias as... I mean, if you know any job and then you see somebody do that job in a way that you can then judge or be critical of course you're going to have a level of judgment to it. It would be how the fact that every builder thinks every other builder is an absolute cowboy and not doing the job correctly. Once you understand, how the thing is made and how the thing is done, that's when you need to start understanding the in-depth aspects of it. If you've been training in martial arts for many, many years, and then you watch someone talk about martial arts, but you're suddenly aware, actually, hang on, this person has no idea what they're talking about. You only know that they're full of shit because you know what the answer should be. So yeah, of course, I've got a different perspective on these things from when I, used to work as other stuff. Enjoying making videos can feel over making stuff for views. Yeah, you can make stuff for views and you can make stuff for the audience, make stuff for yourself. I can wear, oh yeah, one more pip and I'll be able to wear the shoulder armor, the helm, and the axe. It's gonna be a big day for the build. Really big day for the build. But the content creation game is you have to ask yourself, are you doing this because you love content creating? Or are you doing this because you want to make money off it? Or are you doing it because of, and believe it or not, this is an answer, both. Some people think that you need to do stuff for the love of it, which means you need to do it at the cost of all financial gain. And other people think you need to do stuff purely for the money and you cannot think of anything else in between. There is a balance. There is a middle ground where you are doing stuff because you like doing it and because you want to get paid to do it. You can find that ground. That's totally allowed. It's when people think that you have to do one at the expense of the other that we run into the problems. Phalanx shield with a tiger, I've already got a good shield. So what I really hate is when I say to someone, hey, I can't make this video, it's going to take me too long, I know it's not going to get enough views, and people go, oh, just do it for the love of it. Why aren't you doing it for the love of it anymore? Because my mortgage and my bills don't take for the love of it at the end of every month. We've got to sort that out, You know what, that's the perfect way to put it. The ultimate goal is that human beings think with their emotions more than they think logically. And I guarantee that when you meet someone that says, I just think logically, they are some of the most emotional people you will meet. Because people who actually genuinely do think logically understand that emotions play a huge part in the human condition. People that want to focus on logic over everything else are ignoring the most logical thing, which is not every human thinks like them. Okay, people ask me what my pet peeves are all the time. People that pride themselves on being logical get remarkably emotional when you don't agree with them. Human beings are emotional by nature. We want to be liked. We want to be part of a tribe. We want people to feel that we are special and important. And as soon as you go against that, I guarantee it's the people that pride themselves on logic that get the most annoyed. People that tell you that they're just brutally honest care more about the brutality than about the honesty. And people that say that they're just telling it like it is very rarely like to hear it like it is. Am I logical? Only until I get emotional. I will be remarkably logical up until the emotions kick in. And then suddenly human beings are not about being logical, they're about being emotional. You pride yourself on being rational above all else and you're very much aware of your emotions and other people. You just try not to get overpowered by them. That's fine. You're probably just not the person that always just goes, I'm just being logical. It's just logical, it's just important, just do this, just do that, just do the other. People that want to pride themselves on critical thinking very rarely actually do. They normally are about critical feeling. It just happens that their feels are also what they think. Maybe this is just a personal thing, but I've often discovered that the people that like to insult other people for having feelings are the ones that then have the biggest and strongest feelings. You cannot separate emotion from who you are as a person. The people that mock other people for being snowflakes, the people that mock other people for being, so weak and emotionally driven, get remarkably upset whenever you point out flaws with them. It's projecting. That's what it is. My issue is when people feel entitled to your money because they made something rather than what this person made is awesome, I'll support them to make more. Yep, Sergeant Cavic, that's absolutely correct. I completely agree with that. I will make the art that I can make. I hope that people are able to pay what they're able to pay to enjoy the art and to allow me to continue making it. What I would like is for a couple of remarkably rich people to be able to fund it for everyone else so they can enjoy it for free, because money's tight for everyone. That's great. What I sometimes dislike is when the art that I made for people, often paid for and supported by for the fans, is then taken by people, reacted to, and used to make them money that the people that allowed me to make it didn't necessarily want to give it to that person. Does that make sense? I want to be able to continue creating the entertainment that distracts you from, everyday life. We all need entertainment. Entertainment does have a value. It's not as important as, food, shelter, that kind of stuff. But once you've got that sorted and you want to have a bit of fun with something else, that's what I'm going to be here for. I would love for the stuff that I make, whether it's videos, Twitch streams, collaborations with other people, plays, art, shows that I'm hosting, all of that kind of stuff. I would like it to be able to be lucrative for me and sustainable that it becomes a thing that I can keep doing to the best of my ability. It irritates me when other people benefit from that more than I do, because that's just a human reaction. I'm doing the work, why are you getting the reward? Kind of thing. JSH has become a pompous clickbait rage baiter. Right, do you believe that? Or is that like a little joke you were telling? I can't tell. Tone doesn't carry well on the internet, so you have to tell if that's like a genuine thing. I would hope that I haven't, but I mean, I'm sure at some point I definitely will. But yeah, being aware of, I mean, we're talking now about the human condition. Soccer, I agree. They'll never do it, but I would agree. It's hard not to be called a rage baiter because some people don't realize that it's on them for getting angry. There's a difference between rage baiting, emotional titling, and clickbaiting. Clickbaiting is getting the click at the expense of everything else. Even if you don't answer the question, all that matters is the original click. Emotional titling is getting the click because you want someone to feel something and you want that click to be effectively validating a feeling or following a feeling, and then the content itself is meant to answer the question that it sets up, or it's meant to explain why that feeling exists. Rage bait is often, I'm going to say or do something that is going to make you angry simply because I know that anger is the most shared and most followed emotion. You can have a different opinion. Sebi, thank you for saying that. You can have a different opinion to someone and not think that it's rage bait. People always go, oh my god, your video is called worst MMO ever. They're rage baiting. No, I would call that emotional titling, because I'm saying, is this the worst MMO ever? Then I'm giving you an answer in the video where I say either no, it isn't, or it might be because of this. But people don't understand the difference now between rage baiting and emotional titling and just angry stuff. People online, it's very important that people tell you that they're angry. I don't know if you've noticed this. If someone is annoyed or someone has a negative opinion or someone needs you to know that you're wrong, they must tell you. Because telling you validates them. Everyone online needs people to know when that person is wrong, or incorrect, or stupid, or sad. And unfortunately, there was a great video by the content creator CGP Grey where they worked out that anger, annoyance, negativity is more shared than anything positive. So when people message me and they're like, Josh, why do you only share negativity on Twitter and Instagram? I'm like, because you guys share it. Because mathematically and statistically, that is just the most shared type of content. And those platforms are just marketing. So we just need the numbers above all else, which sucks. But unfortunately, people remember negative more than they remember positive. They share negative more than positive. And that's part of the human condition, and it sucks. And everyone that has tried to build on being purely positive will never achieve the numbers of purely negative. That's a great Wobberjack, perfect. Elvis's manager sold pin badges that said both I love Elvis and I hate Elvis. If you guys want to see an exact example of this, 2 channels that I follow put out 2 very similar videos. The Tolarian Community College for Magic the Gathering put out the video called, like, the 5 best things in Magic this year, and then they put out the 5 worst things in Magic this year, and the worst video did way better. And then there was a Warhammer channel that put out the best things about Warhammer, and then the worst things about Warhammer, and the worst thing got about twice as many views as the best thing. Now, Knight, good question. What about Co-Carnage? I'm not saying there is no one online that tries to spread positivity. I've never at any point said that. If you want to infer that, you can, but you're wrong. I have never said no one online wants to spread positivity. I have said negativity has greater reach and spreads more. And that, unfortunately, is just a fact. It sucks, but it's a fact. Spreading positivity online is a good thing to do, and it is, from a marketing point of view, the weakest thing that you could do. As soon as I left, someone said, yeah, but toxic positivity is just as bad, and I completely agree. It is so difficult to have a discussion about anything online, because as soon as you say, hey, this is maybe not the best thing in the world, it is straight away met with, yeah, but the opposite's just as bad. I'm like, yes, mostly extremes of either thing aren't great. I understand that toxic positivity does also suck. No one is denying that. It's funny, the last time I talked about positive psychology, someone jumps in with, but this is also bad. Yes, it is. I get that, I understand. I'm on board. I think people just want to be heard. That's what it is. People wish to be heard, and whenever there is a thing to be spoken about, and you're talking about it, people feel like they have to defend their side of the argument. Maybe it's a human condition thing. You guys can let me know what you think. Have you ever met people that whenever you're having a discussion, and I'm going to be real with you, I find these people insufferable. They do this thing where they say, I'm just playing devil's advocate, you know, I'm just arguing for the sake of arguing. I just love debates. It's possible to love debates without just being a contrarian. It's possible to enjoy the cut and thrust of a good argument without literally having to find every small victory against somebody and declare it as the right thing to talk about and do. Especially when people start to get down to technicalities. You know, oh, well, technically this happened. Oh, well, technically you did this and did that. I'm like, are you bothered about discussing and finding an answer to the solution, or are you bothered about winning? Has this become you and me against a situation? Or has this become you trying to score points against me? Because as soon as that happens, that's the problem. You know what, that's a good point. A debate is a conversation. Wanting to win at all costs, that makes it an argument. A debate is when both sides are willing to change their minds. If you are willing to change your mind based on evidence and ideas, you know, presented from somebody else, that's when we have a fun, fair, honest, genuine debate. But the internet has narrowed that down to W's and L's. That's what it is. Either your take is a W or your take is an L. There is nothing else. And when you have any take that is not a W or an L, it's too complicated for the internet, because the internet needs you to know whether you are Wing or Lling. The only time people look for grey areas are when people are trying to get an ideological win rather than a reasonable discussion. I mean, that depends. You can understand a situation. And I think the internet has very much reduced the understanding of a situation down into, are you on the right side of this or not? You've got to talk about grey areas. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to evaluate positions on stuff. You've got to think about ideas. Sometimes one of the most important things to try and do is to debate in favor of a point that you don't agree with. Knight, I agree with that, though. The polarization of especially mainstream and political news has turned everything into a we win or you win debate. It's a we win or you win position. And if you win, we can't win. And if we win, you must lose. There is no longer the discussion of what do we do for the betterment of a society as a whole, and instead we look into how do I make my team win and your team lose. And I hate that. I hate that so much. I mean, yeah, playing devil's advocate with the idea of bettering yourself and understanding the situations, that's a fascinating thing to do. But it very much irritates me when it's, oh yeah, okay, I've got to work out what's the winning and losing for my team and your team. When the betterment of society is treated as a sports game, without people realizing it has actual effects on actual people. Politics has become personality. One of my favorite bands, a band called In Living Color, has their most famous song, The Cult of Personality. I would absolutely look into understanding the lyrics of that song, guys. Because you don't convince people by actually giving them valid arguments. You convince people by telling them they are right, and all of their wrongs and all of their problems and all of their issues are caused by other people. And if they vote for you, you will get rid of those people. That's what it is. I hate to say it, guys. I don't like saying it, but unfortunately, that just seems to be a bit of reality. Changing someone's mind is extremely difficult because it takes several steps, and forcing it is easy because the conditions are already met. That is a very good way of looking at it. It is very easy to trick someone. It is very hard to convince them they have been tricked. Tricking someone just involves using a thing called the anchoring fallacy. The anchoring fallacy is humans have a kind of a predisposed notion to believe the first thing we hear. If we have absolutely no information about a topic and someone tells us some information about a topic, we will just naturally believe them, because most people don't think that other people are going around lying to them. If someone else then comes over to you and says something different, or tells you a different story, or gives you a different kind of input, you're actually less likely to believe that second person, because that would have to mean acknowledging that you'd been lied to by the first person, which you don't want to do. Nobody wants to do that. They want to acknowledge if they're being lied to at all, it's by the second person. That's why it's so important that so many kind of ideological ideas get ingrained in kids when they're younger. The earlier you can get someone, and the earlier you can convince them of an idea, the harder it's ever going to be to unprogram that idea. What if you don't trust the first person? I mean, spooky conundrum, of course you could not trust the first person. I'm not talking... When I talk about these concepts, I'm not talking about you as an individual. I'm talking about the general human experience. Most people are more reasonable than they seem if you treat them with respect. That's true. But we don't hear from those reasonable people. Indoctrination into anything is powerful. And indoctrination can often start early. And the first thing you hear, the first experience you have of something, that is the beginning of any level of indoctrination. So it's very, very vital. This is why it's so easy to trick someone. You just tell them something when they have no reason to not believe you. I do know a good example. It's childhood indoctrination in history. Yeah, absolutely. But we're also not going to touch that with a barge pole, because that is not going to be discussed with the level of nuance and respect it deserves on Twitch. I'm sure you've all known someone, or you've met someone, maybe you've been that person, maybe you know someone in your family that's like this, where they absolutely believe something. And even if they are shown that the thing they believe is incorrect, they will not acknowledge that they were incorrect. They will either continue to believe it, or they will just say, you know, let's not talk about that anymore. They will do anything to not acknowledge that they have been tricked. Because acknowledging that they've been tricked is acknowledging that they are fallible. People don't like acknowledging that. It hurts your ego. And people don't like having their ego hurt. Understandably. Most people don't think about, you don't have evidence, you're raised in religion, which makes me skeptical about everything people say with evidence. Yeah, potentially. Is this AI Josh Strife? No. Unfortunately, you have to deal with the real me. Talking with human beings, and this is all comes back to emotion. People like to believe that they are logical, whereas most people are emotional. Being wrong is the opportunity to learn. It's rare. Acknowledging your faults, your flaws. I'm sure I'm going to be wrong about a hell of a lot of stuff in my life. As long as someone comes along and tells me why I'm wrong and what I'm wrong at specifically, cool. Chance to learn. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the ego, no doubt at all. But it's a chance to learn, at least. Emotions drive us. Emotions absolutely drive us. What if you're right, but people think you're wrong? Legit, what matters more to you then? Proving other people wrong or just being right? If you know that you are right, and that even if other people did or don't believe you, nothing will change, why would you put effort into changing their mind? Because it's important that you're right, or because it's important that they know you're right? That's where the ego comes from. There are many people in my life who I will never meet who think I'm wrong about stuff. And as a human, I have the ego drive to want to point out that, you know, I'm right, they're wrong. But then you also have to occasionally stop yourself, pull yourself back and be like, look, they're not going to change. Even if you provided all the proof ever, they are not going to apologize. They are going to begrudgingly agree or just insult you and walk off. So at some point you have to say, right, what are you doing this for? People who are wrong still make decisions that impact us. Yes, absolutely, they do. And that's why you have to then ask yourself, at what level of effort are you willing to go to prove somebody right or wrong? How much effort are you willing to put in to change someone's mind if you know that it either won't change, or even if it does, it won't actually matter? You know, I am gaining fury really slowly. I'll give you that. That's the only problem right now with this two-handed weapon. I am super slow at gaining fury. Remember, guys, you cannot reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. Sometimes people hold ideals and beliefs because they make them feel better. That's it.